brings me to the next question about Midway. I didn't know you was involved in Midway. So talk to me
Yep.
about that. How you hooked up with those guys?
Yeah, so it's been really good over there. They're expanding. It's pretty cool little deal. Yeah, so I got hooked up. I started going to their young adult program. It's just a young adults on Monday nights. They just go in there, have a message, have worship, and then small groups. And it's kind of one thing led to another. They asked me to be on teaching team. And then the guy on teaching team on there that's also on the teaching team, he's preteen director. So he asked me, he said, "Hey, you want to do this for preteen?" And then preteen led to middle school, and then middle school led to high school. And so I'm just doing a little bit of everything. Man, I love the community over there though. It's one of the it's really cool to see how it's a larger church
Mm-hmm.
but they make it small with life groups.
Yeah.
And their motto is like rows to circles. And it's really cool to see. And I just love the community over there. It's awesome.
Say that again. What roads to circles? What?
Rows to circles. They
Oh,
they yeah, like rows.
I
Yep.
got you. I said,
Yep.
well, it took a minute.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's good. The reason that's interesting to me personally is because you probably ran into Steve Camp over there.
Yeah, yep.
And
Mhm.
so I go to I go to the men's church thing on Sunday mornings. I mean, pretty regularly, probably
Mhm.
pretty regularly. So yeah, Midway's kind of been one of those peripheral places in my life. Years ago, I don't know if you knew Harold Duvall and all those girls. They were a little bit older
Mhm.
than you, but that
Yeah.
was the first Bible study I ever went to. Was Harold Duvall took me to Midway back before it grew like it did.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but Midway's an amazing
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, I
Absolutely,
love it. Love it over there.
yeah. So well, that's good word that you. So you're splitting time between. So where you living? You live in Douglasville?
Yes, no, so I live in Fairfield now, out in Villa
Okay,
Rica.
yeah,
Yep. So
okay.
bought a house out here a couple years ago, and then about this time last year actually. And so I'm just out here just 5 minutes from the church. So
Yeah, good deal.
yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yep.
Once again, I just want to thank you for reaching out on the text. I want to make sure I
Yeah,
mention that again.
for
Okay,
sure.
so the to dive into the question, I think I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but
Hmm.
here you're a young guy, right? So
Okay.
most of these folks I talk to are old folks like me. Yeah. So we've been around the block a time or two, but I find it
Yep.
very, yeah, I'm just so encouraged with you guys that jump in young.
Hmm.
But how do you balance between serving your interest as a coach
Hmm.
and those you're coaching?
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough because a lot of times we're coaching the students and the players that are younger than us. And so I always like to just hinge on okay, I've been there before. I can help you out with this. But the balance is hard though, especially like when you get into like teaching and you're in there, like you're teaching like about the word. You want to be in the word just as much as you're teaching the word, if not more. And you want to be able to have a heavier balance on, okay, I need to study this. I need to be in prayer. I need to be in the word with this so that whenever I am, in front of these students, teaching them and coaching them and all this different stuff, it flows naturally. And the allows the Lord to speak through you. So I think the balance is, you know, just having that opportunity to actually stand in front of students and stand in front of players and give them the advice and the word that you've grown up getting and that you're getting every single day from the word and from spiritual guidance and from mentors and stuff like that. So
Yeah, so man, it's really cool to hear you talk at such a level of confidence. It reminds me of what it said. Jesus spoke with authority.
mm,
They didn't understand how he could do that, right? Because he was.
mhm,
I mean, he's basically a nobody in
yeah,
terms of the world. But that's what you were
yep,
just doing, Kyle. Man, I mean, telling you, speaking with authority.
mm,
That's something that doesn't come with a title. You have to walk in it and knowing the word. Isn't it good to know
mhm,
the word is the answer?
yeah,
Like
Yeah,
How
it
do
for
you,
sure.
yeah, how do you talk about that for a minute? How the word is the answer in what you're doing on those basketball courts.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing is when you when you're in the moment, you know how it is as a coach. Like you get fired up, you wanna get out on the court, you wanna get out on the field because like you're like, oh, you're doing it wrong, you're not doing it right, but that's where your light for Jesus shines the most. Like when a player does something wrong that you've told him to do, that's where you're like, hey, hold up. This is where I need to be, giving them grace instead of saying, "Hey, you're doing this wrong. Do better next time." You need to show grace on that. So I think that's one of the biggest things.
Man, dude, I wanted to interrupt you because that's really good. We
Yeah.
can we can end the podcast, and I will be really good with that because isn't that
No.
life? Isn't that what
Mm.
Christ did for us?
Mhm.
When I told you what to do
Yep.
and you didn't do it.
Yep.
Oh, Kyle, that's really. I mean, I've heard people talk about the light, shining like Coach Fulkerson. Now, you can go back and look at the podcast, and
Mhm.
they talk about being the light in the hard times. But that's really well. That solidifies how to be the light, knowing that if I can just bite my tongue, for example,
Yeah.
in the moment. God, that's really good, brother. That's really good. So, yeah, I just want to ponder on that for a minute. I mean, that just shook me. That's really good. So, what do you find most difficult? I say most difficult. Well, yeah, the most difficult, the most challenging, the high school or the middle school kids.
The middle school for sure. They definitely don't listen.
Yeah,
That's like I think that goes, along with across the line. Like it's like they want to, mess around more. They want to play with their friends. They want to do what they want to do. But jumping into the high school, they kind of get that more maturity level. They get the like, hey, I actually want to do something with this in my life. I actually want to, go and, make a person of myself in this sport. But it's really cool to see when you have that one student or that one player that you've coached from middle school to high school. That's where like to see their growth. That's really cool to see.
yeah,
But I would say definitely, middle school students they're a different breed. They're crazy. They have a mind of their own. They go and talk and but they're learning. They're maturing. They're getting better every single day. So that's really cool to see.
I like that. Oops, I like the fact that she finished up with the word maturity in the conversation
Mm.
because, yeah, I think that you've got my brain linearly, you like paralleling like basketball and life now,
Mhm.
because when like an immature teenager, you don't think they're listening.
Yeah.
You don't think we don't think, and that's what the Lord did with me, right?
Mhm.
I stepped away. I was a middle schooler for a while. I was raised in the church, and then I was a middle schooler for a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that makes any sense in a spiritual
No,
sense,
for sure.
but I
It's like
never,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, they know, man. They know when they're doing wrong, right? That's just really so cool. So is basketball the only thing you coach, or do you do some?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing I coach right now. Haven't coached anything else in a while. So
Because did you play basketball like a
yeah. Yeah, so I actually played at the league that I'm coaching at now,
okay?
all the way up until senior year. I played baseball growing up. I played um golf, obviously. That's me and Bryson played golf together.
Hmm.
Multiple days on the golf course, but I've done a little bit of coaching of golf. I've had some coaching opportunities for that, some lessons, so that's been pretty cool to see. Um, but the crazy thing about the golf lessons is it's not just you would think that it would just be like high school and middle schoolers that are trying to get into golf. A lot of them are like older generation, retired, like, "Hey, I've never really played golf before. Can you show me how to golf?" Or, the ones that like a work from home, like mom or something like that, they'd come out and be like, "Hey, I just want a hobby." So that's been really cool to see. Coaching the next generation, a lot of times we see it as, "Oh, we're coaching the younger generation," but coaching the older generation, that's been pretty cool too.
Wow, that's kind of crazy because I never. Yeah, that's kind of crazy because Bryson has told me the kind of the same deal. There's been some older guys that'll,
Hmm.
see them playing or whatever, and they see you guys having success, being able to, whatever on the golf course, whatever that means to them,
Yeah.
and they're open to being coached by somebody younger, and
Hmm.
that reminds me of back in the day when we did the Elevate conference little thing, and I remember being laid on my heart that young people really have a voice in this
Hmm.
walk with the Lord, right? I mean, you really do have a voice. And what's really interesting, and like, so if you look at an older person playing golf, I mean, they
Hmm.
recognize immediately, oh, this young guy can pound it, 280, 300, and maybe he can show me something.
Yeah.
But so many times in the world, that's not the way that it is. Old people
Hmm.
just discount it, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
guess it's so coaching those younger people, ones younger than you, it helps. Being older helps, I guess, what is it? I don't know, the realness of that. You know what you're talking about, right?
Hmm.
Because just
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
are older,
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
that's not always the case. Well, I just found it interesting about baseball, and because I knew you played baseball too. You're a pretty good
Hmm.
baseball player, right? Your
Yeah.
dad knocked the crap out of a softball, so
Yeah.
but to coach basketball was uh, kind of unique. Which basketball, though, for me, next to football, is pretty intense
Hmm.
and really offers those moments of letting your light shine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would say basketball is probably the easiest to say something wrong because you're so close to them, you know? Like you're running by, they're running by you, like the refs are running by you or your players running by you like 2 feet, 3 feet in front of you, you know? Whereas like in a football field, you gotta kind of run out on the field if to say something. So like I think basketball is the one where you gotta like bite your tongue the most, like you were saying, and just let your light shine. So
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, man. I mean, there is a lot in a basketball game. Not only are the players right there,
mm,
the coaches are right there, obviously, the
yeah,
parents are right there, and the refs are right there.
right there in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
I mean, I've got some stories about that league, but about the when Bryson played, and I was like, then I will have to share that on another podcast. I need to make my own little episode for that.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot about, like, I love to watch Coach Slate coach basketball. I mean,
Yep.
we all probably like enjoy that, right?
Yep. Well, I do for sure.
Yeah, and so watching how he's managed that, being able to do that in a Christian, man, his I got to get him back on here. He's such a
Yeah, you do.
golly. I got to
Mm,
get him back on here.
yep. I was thinking the same thing.
Man, he his story, when he needs to tell his whole story. Anyway, so you're not married, but you're living in
No.
Fairfield. Well, what's the
Hmm.
deal with being not married?
Yeah, it's $1 million question, honestly.
I
I
bet your
think,
mama. Yeah,
yeah, they were literally just asking me about an hour ago.
that's so
No, I
good.
think, it's just something that I'm in a season of singleness.
Yeah,
And I think
amen.
it's just the biggest thing. I've had relationships in the past and I think God's brought me out of them.
Wow.
I've had times where, I felt like I was going to marry the girl, but I've, also felt times where I'm like, I can't be with this girl any longer because of this reason, that reason. But every single bit of it was back to Jesus. Like, hey, if you're not putting me first, if your priority's not me, if I'm not in it, then you shouldn't be in it. You shouldn't be around it. And so those were kind of the questions that I wrestled with, and I think God's just putting me in a season of singleness. Like, hey, you need to be happy whether you're with someone or not. You need to be diving into the Word regardless of your relationship status. And so I think that's where He is with me right now, and um, I would be lying if I said it wasn't a struggle some days, but you know it's where we are, and I'm getting closer to God, and living to show him every single day. So,
Yeah, that's
yep.
I get. I get it, man. I get it. I like putting people on the spot about that, especially young folks. But man, I totally get it. There's not really enough talked about marriage and about what it means. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, your mom and dad's been married a long time, and you got some good examples, and you got
Yep.
good people in your life, and I get that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, like you. It comes
Hmm.
literally down to you. And
Hmm.
over since this podcast has started, I've had an opportunity to talk to a couple of people that I wouldn't have got to talk to about marriage, and it's been like, wow, man, oh my God,
Yep.
how much I've learned. So, yeah, I find it the best part of what you said was I'm getting closer to the Lord or closer to
Hmm.
God. It comes down to Jesus.
Yep.
Man, I love talking about people that ain't afraid to talk about Jesus. And when I'm going to share this with you too, the podcast in my brain, and maybe that's how the Lord did it because He knew that's how it would get me, was this was going to be about sports.
Yeah.
And as we have rolled through the first 8 or 10 interviews, it's been, no, this ain't about sports at all. It is, but I want to talk to coaches. But this is about the Lord, man.
Hmm.
Just like, your singleness is about the Lord. If the Lord isn't first in this, and it's why it's such a joy to talk with you, when you started speaking, you can probably hear we're up here in Rome. They've rolled by. There'll be another one here in a minute. But when you started speaking with authority in your spirit, man, I was happy. I'm just telling you,
Hmm.
Kyle. You don't know. I found another thing, and I'll just ask you the question. I found another thing recently. This past weekend, there was a young man I know that went all the way to Virginia, the University of Virginia, to watch a girl play softball.
Hmm.
A girl that he had coached,
Yep.
not in high school, not in college, not in just as a travel situation. And and I texted him. I said, "Man, you don't know how much joy it gives me to know what you are doing."
Hmm.
That he was literally sitting there watching a young girl that he coached in ball, playing ball at a level, at the level she wanted to play at. And that gave me so much joy. Like I didn't have anything to do with either one of them. I just knew that he was
Hmm.
doing it. And that's what I'm thinking about you right now. I'm thinking about how much joy that gave me to hear Christ in your voice, son. I can't express that to you enough. And so you've been coaching now since 2016. That's 10
Hmm.
years.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And you've got kids that are playing ball that are grown now. Give
Yep.
me some of those stories that you've ran into. Tell me about some of those.
Yeah, I haven't really had any that have grown and, that I've seen like play at the next level.
Well, yeah, not any,
Um,
yeah, but just life though.
yeah. So there was a group of students that I actually had whenever I was a student pastor at Central from the start of 5th grade all the way until their senior years. I was their like Sunday school teacher, right?
Yes.
And the coolest thing about it was they began through the Central sports, through they call it Junior Hawks over there because they're affiliated with the Atlanta Hawks, and so they call it Junior Hawks. Through the basketball program, they began to start bringing all their friends to come to basketball to play basketball, and that translated over to church. And I think the coolest thing to see was, it started with 2 or 3, and it ended with 9 or 10. And what's really cool is one of the students that I coached with, or that I coached in that time period, he is like one of my best friends now, and he actually is in our friend group, goes to church with me. He dates one of my other good friends. Like, so it's really cool to see everything that they've done. And through all of that, through all the basketball games, through the championship that we've won, through all that middle school, high school, they are still embedded in their faith through that. And so I think that's the coolest thing to see. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they played at the next level. It doesn't matter if they went to the NBA and are NBA star or, MLB or anything like that. It's what they're doing with their life currently and what they're doing with in their spirit in the church. And, I've talked to half of them, more than half of them every single day. And almost every single one of them are embedded in a church, going every single Sunday and just doing everything they can to, follow closer to Christ. And I think that's the coolest thing about, coaching is you are the light to them where they don't see a light at home or they don't see a light at school when it comes to coaching. And when it comes to those, God-centered relationships with whoever you come into path with, that's where the light shows and that's where, God starts to move. So,
When you mention the light, now anytime you mention the light from here forward, I'm going to think about in a basketball game when you're mad because they don't do what you tell them, have
yeah.
told them, and you bite your tongue.
Yeah.
And when and the reason I say that, man, like at home, there's no light,
Mhm.
and maybe it's because mom or daddy didn't bite their tongue,
Yeah,
and all of a
exactly, yeah.
sudden when they see Kyle Dillard, Coach Dillard, bite his tongue, and they know they
Mm.
just did it wrong. That's light, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that is a Jesus light. That is a concrete, explicit example of the power of the gospel. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah.
Hey, before I forget the question,
Okay.
because they just pop in my head, but when tell me why some people will say that you don't have to go to church to
Yeah.
have a relationship with Jesus. Why is church important?
I think the biggest reason because they're right. You're exactly right that you do not have to go to church, to have a relationship with Christ, but the biggest thing is it is so hard to do things alone,
Mm,
and it's so hard to do things without a community and without accountability that church offers that. And so a lot, me and you have both seen a lot over the years. We've seen um, a lot of Christians that they'll go to church and they'll worry about it on Sunday morning, and then they won't think about it the rest of the week,
mm,
right? I think the biggest thing about church is church offers so many things throughout the week, whether it's a specific type of ministry, church on Sunday morning, a life group, a serving opportunity, or anything like that, that you are so into church that that's all you really think about. And so there's a good and a bad. You can get burnout for sure. But I believe that church is when you start going to church, you start living outside of the four walls instead of just living inside the four walls. Because when you start seeing biblical examples, when you start seeing real life examples of people living for Christ in church and out of church, that's when the church becomes like your center point. That's when the church becomes like, hey, I can do this in church. Why can't I do it outside of church? So,
mm.
yeah.
I can do this inside. There's a quote for you, Higgy, if you can remember what timestamp that is. No, that's we'll have to find that later. Um, yeah, that's man. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to wisdom from a 28-year old. You're less than half my age. That's crazy. No, but that's powerful, man. One of the Stacy and I, we moved up here to Rome, and we go to a church on Wednesday nights a good bit, and they have a
Mhm.
pastor that's like 28 years old. He's y'all's age, and he's just absolutely phenomenal. So, like we said before, youth doesn't God an old heart or a young heart, it don't matter. You can change them all. The church though is a I've just got some good buddies that don't go to church, man, and I'm like, golly.
Mhm.
But at the same time, what I'm hearing right now is they don't have a church like Kyle Dillard does.
Mhm.
I don't know if you picked that. They don't. It sounds to me like you've got a couple of churches
Mhm.
that are not the typical churches.
Yeah.
We are. I mean, up here in Rome, there's 400 churches. Somebody told me that the other day. 400 in Rome. Imagine that. But
Yeah.
I've been to probably six of them, and
Mhm.
I don't think any of them play basketball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to me about that part of church. Like, most people think church Sunday morning, right?
Hmm.
But that's not what Kyle's teaching me tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, with sports ministry at church is it allows you to meet them where they are. I think that's the biggest thing because if you have a son or a daughter that loves sports and they just want to play sports all the time, but they're not really keen on, hey, I want to go to church and sit in Sunday school, or I want to go to, church and sit in big service. Sports ministry allows you to meet them where they are on the basketball court, on the field, on whatever you're playing, and it allows them to come into a godly environment, into an environment where we're doing devotions and we're doing, um, we're playing the same sport that they love, but it also offers, hey, come to church with me tomorrow. Hey, other player that's in the student leadership that's helping me coach or that's on the same team, like, hey, we got church tomorrow, you should come because a lot of the games are on Saturday, and so we have that opportunity to be like,
Mm.
hey, tomorrow's church, 9 and 11 o'clock in the morning, like, come check us out. And they build those relationships with other players on the team, and then they tell their parents like, hey, I want to go to church in the morning. And that's where the ball starts rolling. Like, maybe the parent doesn't start coming, right when it starts off, but they eventually like, okay, if my son likes this or my daughter likes this, maybe I should check it out. And so sports ministry is just the perfect gateway to church if you aren't someone that was like raised in a church or something like that, but you love sports. So
Yeah, there's another. I'm trying to pause because it's easier to edit dead space and find dead space in a. No, that's another quote. Sports are the perfect gateway to church, and we're not even talking about. We're not even. I mean, we are talking about the physical church, but
yeah.
we're talking about the spiritual church too. Like,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
the perfect gateway. So, you coach at Central, but there's
Mhm.
way more to Kyle Dillard than sports and
Yep.
basketball because apparently you are going to Midway, and
Mhm.
and I already know a little bit about Midway, but obviously there are things going on there that are
Mhm.
reaching people other than Sunday morning service. Talk
Yeah.
to me about how that plays out and why that's such an why is it growing so much? Do they play basketball? I usually
Yeah.
sports down there, but
Yeah, yeah. So they used to do a ministry, sports ministry back in the day. I think Midway excels a lot of social media. That's one of their biggest outreaches, which
mm,
that's a lot of, what churches do now, a lot of social media. Ever since COVID, that helped a lot because a lot of people started doing live streams. But they offer a lot of things like they do like a celebrate recovery type deal.
mm-hmm,
They have those meetings. They offer a life group every single day of the week. I think that's also really cool because it could be a random Tuesday night, and that may not be the only night that you are able to do anything church related. You may just be full work, you may travel, stuff like that. But Tuesday nights may be your night. Uh, they have a life group for everything. They actually, I was mistaken whenever I said they don't do sports. They actually do have a men's Bible study on Tuesday nights at Midway, where they come in, they play basketball, and they do a devotion halfway through, and then they keep playing basketball. It's just a open gym type deal. That's led by two of the main guys over there, so that's a pretty cool deal. Um, and so they do a really good job of just reaching the community. They have a lifeline where they have like clothes that are donated to the church, and people can come pick up clothes and food, and they work with different ministries around the county and the surrounding counties, and so they just do a really good job of reaching the community, and others telling others about what Midway offers and where they are and um what they have for them, and they do a really good job of meeting people where they are. And there's been stories of just like going to like our college minister, like going to college campuses and having going and speaking at their BCMs or at their COs and stuff like that, their college ministries, where he's not necessarily saying, "Hey, come to Midway," but he's like, "Hey, Midway is here for
Hmm.
you. Midway is, if you're looking for a home church, like come to Midway. That's great. That's awesome. But like, we want to be here for you through your walk in college, through your, walk with Jesus. Like, we want to be there, and that's what Midway offers. And it's just really cool to see. So,
Yeah. Do you see much of the college kids there at the school, like
mm.
the West Georgia kids or whatever?
Yeah, we see a good amount. A lot of them are we just call them young adults.
Uh huh.
So they're either young college, young professional, or like young married. But there's a good many that are in college that they will come over from the college and come to Midway for. But it's crazy because where we see like tonight we had Connect Night, which is our young adult program. There's about 40 of them in there. But what's crazy is we will see somewhere between 100 to 200 on a Sunday morning. So there's opportunity for them to grow. It's just reaching them and, giving them a space to come in and just hang out and just be present with other young adults. And so we're just working through some things that we can do to better do that. So
All right. So tell me about this 40 that showed up tonight. We'll just
mhm.
start there. What age? What was going? Tell me about that. What
Yeah.
happened? What was going on?
Yeah, yeah. So the age tonight was mainly college was tonight. Couple young adults, but if you're like a higher young adult like I am, like I'm like age wise,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is like background work. So like you're in there, you're leading life groups, you're speaking from stage, you're helping with worship, you're helping with connections, you're doing all that. So a lot of them will just come in. So a lot of them, the age is probably, I'd say 18 to 25 ish is probably the main age group. And then you have your ones that are going to come in and like help with connections. Like, hey, your first time's here. Let me get you connected with our young adults pastor. You're looking for a life group. Let me get you connected with what your life group. Oh, you can't meet on Monday nights. Well, let me see what I can do to get you in another life group on another night. So that's like mainly what the age group would be on a Monday night. So
So tonight, while you and I'm curious about this because I'm thinking, good gracious, can we do at our church, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what? So you have 40 folks show up at your church, and young people, whatever.
hmm hmm
And what did y'all do tonight? What
Yeah.
did?
So we come in. There's a lot of the construction going on at Midway right now. They're
Uh huh.
building a new building, so it's been a kind of chaotic back and forth. But we come in and we provide dinner for them, provide drinks, food, all the kind of stuff. And then they go in. We start with worship, like a welcome and then a worship and a message. And then our life groups for young adults are actually on Monday nights. So they all combined it into one night. So it'll be a guys group, a girls group, and then a co-ed group. And so you just can pick which one you want to be in. And I think the really cool thing about young adults at Midway is everybody comes in looking for more. Like we've seen so much growth of the leadership that's there now with this, like with the young adult leaderships, from where they first started to where they are now. I think it's just so cool to see, like we were talking about earlier, with the from middle school to high school and that maturity, not a personal maturity or like a person maturity, but a spiritual maturity, like we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about. So it's really cool to see them stepping into those next levels, into connections or worship team or teaching team or something like that. So that's cool. So
Well, that's fascinating to me. That's fascinating to me that there's a hunger out there that's looking to be fed,
mm,
a place to go, and if they're there in, I guess, Carrollton or Villa Rica,
mhm.
then it's going to be everywhere.
Into a situation where you're growing no matter what the age, because I'm even
Mm-hmm.
in young adults, I'm learning from people that are younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the just for example, the one of the younger adult guys there, he's 25, I think, and he spoke tonight. And like, I mean, I could go on have a list of what he said tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And so the young adults pastor at Midway is younger than I am, a couple years younger than I am. So it's like it's so cool to see, you know, we're able to learn from people that are younger than us, and even like middle school and high school students, like they teach us stuff every single day. They show us, hey, like that childlike faith that we
Mm-hmm.
need to be like. They show us like, hey, just sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
just got to go back to
Yeah.
the basics.
Mm.
So
You, you made me think about what was her name? Ayuk. Brenda Ayuk. You remember Brenda Ayuk?
Brenda,
She
I don't think
ran
so.
track. Was it Brenda? I know it was. Anyway, talking about learning from kids, she was so spiritual. I don't even know what that means, but at the time, it was the only definition I had
Mm,
of. And I remember thinking, if she can do that at 16, if she can connect with the Lord in a song, somebody else is singing. She's not even singing it, but I can see she's connected to it.
hmm.
What a why am I not experiencing that?
Yeah.
So, just learning from other folks. I love that too, what you said about that childlike faith. I mean, a kid can just walk around, not even be talking about the Lord, but you see childlike faith and
Hmm.
you go, oh, that's what the Lord's talking about.
Yep. Yep. For sure.
Yeah. Well, well. Well, what do you see? What do you see yourself? What do you see happening? You got any plans like thinking down the road
Yeah.
to?
Um, Yeah, I really want to grow my career. That's one of my biggest things. Grow my career, and because, like I said, I'm in medical sales right now, so I want to be able to, travel and go out and visit customers. Because right now I'm on the inside part
Mm-hmm.
of things. I'm just sitting behind a desk. You know me, I don't do good sitting behind a desk. I want to get up and walk and go and talk and all that kind of stuff. Um, so definitely grow my career, grow my faith, grow in the opportunities that I have at Midway and, places to come. Eventually, like we talked about, I want to get out of this season of singleness, not rush it, but,
Mm-hmm.
go in the steps that the Lord's taken me. Grow a family, have a wife, all that good stuff. Um, but just overall, just grow in who I am and grow to who I'm going to be. And, to see where the Lord takes me. I'm not a big like, okay, tomorrow I have to do this, or
Mm.
next week I have to do this, or like, or I can't do anything else. I can't function like anything like that. I'm not like a big worrier as far as like the Lord doesn't have me. I'm like, the Lord is guiding my steps. I'm trusting in him in every step of the way. And so it doesn't worry me because I know he has his hand over me and control of my life. And so as long as I continue to follow him, he's going to lead me where I need to be. So
You say that. You say that like. Well, you hear people say stuff like that, and it just sounds like a. But to the uninitiated, it does just sound like that.
yeah, yeah.
But as you're talking, I'm thinking about a conversation I had with the Lord on the way to school this morning
Hmm.
about, look, I can't handle this. I can't do this. Is out of my control. And thank you, Lord, for reminding me that it is out of my control, but it's not
Hmm.
out of your control. And therefore, I can rest in that. And when you say you're not a big worrier, I can see that. I get that sense from
Hmm.
you, and that's like, and that comes from yeah, that comes from knowing the Lord, knowing that He has, or at least some of it does, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's
For
a
sure it does.
there's a so you're inside sales. Well, I'll pray that you want to be outside sales. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely
well,
do for
well, I
sure.
don't know. I don't know how they missed the boat on that, man. As much as you love to talk, it seemed like that'd be
I
the
know.
first place they would put you.
I know,
But
and it also kind of feels like they need to get me to outside sales if I'm around talking to everybody all day, you know? It's like
Yeah,
in the office.
right.
So.
I'm just saying. Yeah, that's be a would be a perfect fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever you do, man, your mom and daddy did a great job on that end. You're gonna do good. You're gonna be fine. And like you said about the season of not, not or whatever season of singleness. I will
Mm.
tell you this: when you have a chance and the time comes to have kids, have a bunch.
Yeah.
And I personally, if I knowing what I know now, I wish I'd have had 40,
Hmm.
because that's what the Lord tells us to go do. He says, "Go forth and
Yeah.
multiply," and we need. I just really feel that's valuable, man, to have people
Yeah.
that know the Lord,
Hmm.
men that know the Lord, that have kids, that can raise them intentionally in the presence of God.
Mm.
Man, yeah. So when that time comes, I'm going to
Yeah.
pray Kyle Dillard has 400 Rugrats running around.
I don't think y'all need that.
Yeah, no, I didn't say 400 Kyles now.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah. Oh
But
man.
look, brother, I appreciate you reaching out. We're going to close this
Yeah.
thing down. We'll probably get back on this. And look, man, if you've got, I love doing this.
Hmm.
I've so if you've got something on your brain that you think would be cool for people to hear,
Yeah.
shoot me a message or get a hold of me, and we'll get together. You ain't no need in you having to put all this technology crap together.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
got it
got you for
handled,
sure.
and so because yeah, that's what it's all about. It's about sharing the love of Jesus, brother.
Yeah. Hey, and I will tell you this, just a word of encouragement for you, because I think one of the first times I ever spoke in front of a crowd was at FCA.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, it may have been like my senior year, could have been, I can't remember, maybe because when I was a senior, I didn't really, I had just started going back to church. Like
Mm-hmm.
it took like a hiatus almost. It felt like just part of my testimony, but I think it may have been like a year out. But I remember going up there and I felt like I was just stepping on toes in there. Is what I really felt
Mm-hmm.
like. And I was like, I just felt like I was, talking to certain people in the crowd. I had no idea who they were. I had no idea, that that was going to do it, but the Lord led me to that and I couldn't tell you who it was, but it just felt like that.
Right.
But I remember walking down the hallway with you and just asking you like, "Hey, is it okay to step on toes? Like, is it okay to like, you know, not necessarily ask or like point people out, but is it okay to be like, "Hey, you may not be living the way that you think you should be living." And I just remember you just telling me like, "Hey, sometimes these people need like these students need to hear truth. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need to be sugar coated to them. It doesn't need to be like, hey, everything's just, grass is greener on the other side. Like sometimes like it's hard." And I think I've carried that with me. I think about that all the time whenever before I go up and speak, like, you know, these kids like they need to know what the Bible is. Like they need to know
Mm-hmm.
that it was not all great and it's not always going to be great every single
Mm-hmm.
time you step foot outside of your house or outside of your comfort zone. And so I just want to thank you for that, like because that's cool to get that reassurance like what we were talking about earlier with the further generations, like you get that reassurance and you're like, okay, like here's a godly man that I can see and I've been around and he's been my teacher, he's been my coach, like all this different stuff, and like I can go to in to find wisdom in this and like clarity and stuff like that. So I think I just thankful for that, those opportunities. But I think about that all the time. Just when I go up, I'm just like not necessarily like, hey, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, but it's like the grass ain't greener on the other side every single time.
No.
Like Jesus comes to tell us like, hey, you need to be doing this better and you need to be, telling people about me. But if you're not doing that, then why are you a Christian? Why are you saying that you're a Christian if you don't even know me? And that's like that's huge. So like um
Dude, I'm telling you, you're making me. Yeah, when you shut up, when you get finished.
yeah, yeah.
But let me tell you what happened Sunday, brother.
All
Sunday,
right.
I'm sitting up there teaching Sunday school Sunday morning, and that very thought come through my head was like,
Uh,
who am I to be telling these people this?
Mm.
Like, I I can't. I'm fixing to say some stuff that's not going to go good,
Yeah.
and but that you got to, in it. I tell you what, God will take care of it. It's His word. It ain't my word. And I try to remember that. But yeah, uh, sometimes we all need our toes stepped on. You just stepped on mine, and I'm thankful.
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm thankful.
Yeah.
God is good.
Well, I appreciate you for real.
I love you.
Yeah, I love you too, man. Next time we need to do it on a golf course or something. Live stream from a golf course.
Look, okay. I don't get. Yeah, okay. I got the camera, so we can do it. That sounds like a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate the invite and thankful for being on here.
All right, brother. God be good.
Yes, sir.
You're awesome, and we'll talk to
Yep.
you soon.
Yes, sir. See ya.